Life is. We will all complete this sentence completely differently. For me, life is a mosaic of moments, some that fill us with joy, like holding your child for the first time, and others that can shatter us, like hearing devastating news from your doctor. There are days that we celebrate, like watching someone that you love cross the stage at graduation. And there are days of heartbreak, like sitting by your parents' bedside in hospice. Life gives us triumph, and it also gives us defeat, joy, and sorrow. And these are all woven together. And each of us experiences it in our own very deeply personal way. My ending to that sentence is a wonder. Life is a wonder. It's full of mystery and the unknown and a beautiful interconnectedness. And I can say this even though I have experienced the betrayal of someone I trusted and I loved, the pain and the sadness of miscarriages and not being able to have children. And I will never forget the fear that I felt that day in the airport in Belgium during a terror attack. There was chaos around me. People were running and screaming bomb. And I called my husband and I had the biggest lump in my throat and asked him if he knew what was going on. And his voice, as it always is, was very steady, but his words weren't. He said, Sabina, there's almost always a second bomb. And in that moment, I looked around and I faced something that I'd never even considered before, the possibility of death. But life isn't just one thing, it's a mosaic because I've also experienced the other side, the love of my family, the warmth of friendship, and catching the gaze of my husband across a crowded room and seeing that wink of I love you. And that's what makes life so extraordinary. It's this blend that creates endless opportunities for learning, for self discovery, and for connection. So, my journey has been shaped by countless ripples, these moments that have left their mark and bringing me here to where I am today. I mean, there are many turning points in my life, good or devastating. And they've come down to three things: the risks I took, the ripples they created, and the resilience that was required to keep going. So, risk, we're going to start with the leap of a possibility. So, risk often makes us feel uneasy. And Google's definition of risk talks about the exposure to the consequences of uncertainty and the possibility of loss or danger. But here's the thing: risk isn't just about loss or danger, it's about the possibility. The possibility means that there are many outcomes. Yep, there are definitely some devastating ones that could be the outcome, but there also could be incredible life changing experiences. And when you face a big decision, do you ask yourself, what if? What if I take this job? What if I love this person? What if? And do your thoughts spiral toward the worst case scenario? Or do you consider all the amazing things that could happen? Now, let's reframe that question. And instead of just asking, what if, ask yourself, what if I don't? How might my life or your life change if I never take that leap? So, I met my husband during a little break in my career in the sciences, and I was working for the magician David Copperfield. Okay, that's another story for another time. But we fell madly head over heels in love. And after the European tour ended, he returned to Germany where he lived, and I went back to the US. And a few months later, after being apart, we found a way to see each other again. And we started talking. And started talking seriously about me moving to Germany. And I asked myself, what happens if I don't move? Will I spend the rest of my life wondering if I missed the chance to be with a great love? So I moved. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But it wasn't. I was taking a huge risk. No job. I didn't speak German. And I was leaving my parents and my sisters and my friends far behind. But I packed 2 suitcases and I bought a one-way ticket and took the leap. And that single leap actually created a ripple that shaped everything. I have been living in Germany for almost 28 years now. I am surrounded with wonderful friends, leading several companies that are making what I think is a meaningful impact on a lot of lives. And if you think about it, one risk can change your life in such an extraordinary way. Now to the second R, ripples. And for me, ripples are the power of connection. Every action creates a ripple. Some are what we think of as small and sweet experiences, and some are colossal waves. But regardless of the size, the impact are far reaching. So our choices and our behaviors, they influence the people around us, who then influence others, and so on and so on. And the ripple continues. And these moments that connect us in ways that we don't always see. So a big ripple started for me in my senior year of college. My parents were incredibly supportive and helped as much as they could. But university prices in the US have a very expensive price tag. I had a student loan and I often worked 2 jobs to make ends meet. And one of my favorite jobs was at Morningside Inn. It was a cozy restaurant and it was nestled in the college woods of Maryville College in Tennessee. And the restaurant was run by Tom and Nan Taylor. And they really became like a second family to me. I babysat their kids. I spent lots of time with them and worked very close with them at the restaurant. And one evening after closing, I mentioned a big wish that I had. I wished that I could focus on my chemistry thesis my senior year and spend less time working and just at the restaurant and not to have my second job. And half jokingly, I said, there has to be someone out there with loads of money who could help me out. Tom kind of leaned back and asked, how much are you talking about, Sabina? And I laughed. It's like, just the basics, actually. So rent, healthcare, and some food money. And a few weeks later, Tom told me that he actually found somebody, a generous, anonymous person that was willing to help. And of course, I couldn't believe it. So that year I only worked at the restaurant and I focused on my studies, and it was really life changing for me. And I wanted to obviously meet this person and thank them. So I asked Tom to arrange a meeting, and the day came. Oh, I was so excited. And I walked into the restaurant, and there in the corner was Tom. I was like, I'm so excited. So when are they going to get here? They're already here, and it doesn't matter how often I tell the story. I feel a lump in my throat and my eyes fill with tears every time. And then Tom told me a beautiful story that went back a generation to his father. So, in his gorgeous Southern accent, he said, well, when my father first came to Maryville College to study, he also didn't have enough money and even for his education, his tuition and living expenses. And there was a wealthy woman who paid for his education. And she asked for one thing in return: give back, however and whenever you can. And it doesn't need to be financial. You can also get creative, but give. So Tom's kindness left a lasting mark on me. And his words were the same to me: give back however and whenever you can. And that still influences my actions and my decisions today. It is incredible that an experience from over 30 years ago, actually almost 40 years ago, still weave into my actions and my decisions today. And they influence everything that I do. So fast forward to 1998. And remember that one-way ticket that I purchased? It led to another colossal ripple in my life. There I was in Germany, high on love, but I only had a 3-month visa, and I needed a job in order to stay. So enter Birgit, a really good friend of my husband's who became one of my dearest friends as well. She introduced me to a gentleman, Jamal Kuyash, and he was the director of a lab. Thankfully, he spoke English because my German was non existent back then. And Jamal and I had a lovely conversation, and he offered me a job, and I was over the moon. So I could stay in Germany, and Jamal touched so many lives with his kindness, including mine and many more. And although he passed away way, way, way too soon in life, the stories of his generosity live on. And I asked for help, and he extended his hand to me. But why does asking for help feel so difficult? And again, going back to Google, if you ask for at Google what asking for help, it says getting support you need without looking weak. I don't get it. This connection between asking for help and being seen as weak really does baffle me. But here's the thing, asking for help is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it's often the very thing that allows us to move forward, to adapt, and to grow. And that brings me to my third R, resilience. Because through life's challenges, there are so many moments of uncertainty that we build strength and that we keep going. And resilience is about building strength through challenges. Resilience for me is not this magical inborn trait. I see it like a muscle. It grows with each challenge and hardship that we face. And for me, it definitely goes back to my childhood, the lessons that my parents instilled in me. And I recently asked my mom about resilience while I was interviewing her for my book. And she said, Sabina, I never really thought about it. I just did it. I did what needed to be done for our family. And her quiet determination left a huge mark on me. My dad, too, definitely lived resilience in his own. So my dad did a lot of volunteering for the Lions Club when we were younger, and they coordinated family events. And as the eldest of 3 daughters, I participated in a lot of those activities. And traditionally, they were reserved for, they were called father and son activities. So fishing rodeos, that's a very Southern thing, and target shooting. So I was often the only child with pigtails. I had longer hair then, and sometimes got some sideways glances from the other dads and my dad really supported me, and he made me feel like I belonged, no matter how others reacted. He taught me and my sisters such practical skills like changing tires, setting spark plugs, and even building fences. And these little things might seem ordinary, but they taught me confidence, perseverance, lessons that still serve me so well today. So, resilience does take many forms. It's about bouncing back from health issues, navigating relationship challenges, or just facing those unexpected life changes. It's about showing up every day. And some days require a lot more determination than others. There have been big moments of brilliance and oftentimes when things didn't go as planned. So I've had my share of stumbles, including launching 4 startups. That's right, 4, and 2 of which failed, leaving me with financial loss and a lot of heartbreak. But I got up because resilience isn't about avoiding failure, it's about showing up every day, and even when things don't go as planned. So life is a wonder, whether it's running a company or a family. It's full of amazing highs and crushing lows. But by asking for help, we remind ourselves that we're not alone. And each time someone extends that helping hand, it strengthens not just our resilience, but also our connection to others. So, this life of ours is not without bumps and wrong turns. So, taking risks, making ripples, and being resilient are all key in this fabulous life journey. So, I wish you all a life of wonder and possibilities. And as you reflect on your life, how long will the list be of times when you let fear guide your decisions? Not taking the job because it felt too big, or holding back from loving someone because you feared that they might not love you back. So, my wish for you is that this list is very short, but that instead you've lived boldly, whether by jumping in feet first or by dipping your toe into the pool of life, creating colossal waves or sweet, subtle ripples. Because every ripple, no matter its size, carries a meaningful and lasting impact. Take risks and ask for help when you need it. But like Tom, his father, and me, be sure to share your stories because these make ever expanding ripples that reach out further than you can ever begin to imagine. So, my life is wonder, and I wonder what is yours?